We are live. We'll just bring up our agenda here today. Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. And we are live.
The agenda. Does anybody have any comments or edits to the agenda? No. I have a motion to approve the agenda. John, seconded by Matt. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Right, it's number 5.
We can. No disclosures. Perfect. So just give me a moment here. We do have Alex Schmidt joining us, and so I will just see if I can see him in our attendee list. Wonderful. So Alex, just bear with us a moment here. We're going to promote you to a panelist. Wonderful. And can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Wonderful. So we will just go down to your delegation, and you do have the committee here if you'd like to present.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your time and setting this up. Yeah, I just wanted to put forward our request for permission to use the Millbrook Valley Trails for this year's edition of the Gani Enduro once again. Our plan is to start from the fairgrounds as we have for the last couple of years and run a mountain bike race throughout the Millbrook Valley Trails and promote what we've done and the Millbrook community has done with mountain biking here in the area. So we're looking again to do a 6-stage mountain bike race, promoted across all of Ontario for everyone to come out and join. Starting from the fairgrounds, heading out, doing 3 stages, looping back to the fairgrounds for lunch, for a barbecue, and then heading back out in the afternoon for another 3 stages. So what we're looking for is permission from yourself and town to use those trails. So if there's any questions, by all means, do not hesitate to ask.
And what dates are you proposing? I'm missing that in the delegation.
Oh, sorry, yeah, October 1st.
October 1st. Okay, and the timing of the events, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon?
Yeah, so we will take off at 10 a.m. for the first wave and around 1 p.m., 1:30 for the second wave.
And so you expect it to start around 8 and then end when?
So we anticipate riders will probably start rolling into town around 8:30. And we'll put a cutoff time of being back to the fairgrounds by 4 p.m. So rolling out 4:35, 5:30 kind of thing.
Okay. And have you addressed parking concerns with the township and or the agricultural society?
Yeah, we've done parking with the Agricultural Society over the last couple of years. And that has been adequate for our size of event.
How many people do you anticipate to arrive for this?
Certainly. Last year we had 120. We're aiming to grow that maybe to 150 this year.
Do you have signage that directs people how to get into the facility, or you just go with the assumption that people have been there before, they know how to get there?
We have a parking volunteer at the front gates, letting them know where to go. And then we send out a tech guide both on the event website and directly to people's emails to show them directions how to get to the fairgrounds.
Do you notify like the immediate local residents that this is going to be happening, or how does that work?
No, that's not something we've done in the past. It's certainly something we can look into.
Beth, do you have a question?
It's just a clarification. So is all the parking at the fairground? So you're not entering into any of the like you're not parking on any other roads or anything, or entering to the Millbrook Valley Trail system from another entrance or road area?
That's correct. Yeah, all event participants are parked at the fairgrounds.
When are we expecting the street construction to be finished?
Oh, it'll be finished around September. Yeah, this is a Sunday though, right? In public use. I think it's a Sunday, is it not, Alex?
Yeah, that's correct. Sunday.
How do you market this, Alex? If you don't mind me asking.
Can you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
How do you market it? Like, obviously, you've got your like families of like-minded cyclists. How do you like promote this in the Kawartha area? Or are you working with like the Peterborough Tourism Board or RTO8 or anything on that end of things? Or you just
No, we haven't worked with any of them. It's all been natural through our own social media. We have a social media account for it, a website. You know, through my personal account, through my co-organizer's personal account. So just word of mouth essentially, and our website. Yeah, we haven't worked with the town tourism or anything like that to help spread the word.
Okay, you might want, just as a suggestion, you might want to get in touch with Shimano, just because they sponsored the cycling route throughout the Kawarthas. And they might have like some advertising dollars for you guys to have, or maybe some prizes.
Yeah, they are a sponsor of ours.
Okay.
One of the organizers works there, so they're well into our supporting. You know, we've got Peterborough or Wild Rock Outfitters as a sponsor. So we've got some local brands and that sort that are sponsors that have some reach as well.
Alex, this is Robert Jackson again. Just in terms of the trails specifically, are you planning on having temporary signage on the trails? And so when would you be putting that up? When would you be taking it down?
Yeah, correct. So we'll have temporary signage, you know, arrows and tape, and start finish banners. We'll put them up the Saturday, so September 30th, and then take them down the following day, October 2nd.
Okay. Any other committee members have any questions, clarifications?
I'm not sure what the proper question is. It's more for CEO. Like, has this been done before and approval of council? I'm just trying to figure out whether, like, we're not actually approving body for this, are
True. So what we've done in the past is we have supported it before, but I think council wanted the Millbrook Valley Trail Committee to make sure that you were supportive first before it goes to council. Then Alex can then go to council and state that either, yes, you were supportive or not. We're being respectful for the committee to either support this. We have had it twice, haven't Alex? Was it twice, I think?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I think they just asked Alex to come here first to make sure the committee had any questions or clarification or support. And then if it's not, then Alex would then make a delegation to our council, and then council could say, yes, we would support it or not based on your discussion today.
Through you, Chair. Just a question, Alex, how does your insurance work with it? Do you guys have to take an additional insurance providers in to cover this, so that it's not obviously falling your doesn't come under this?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we get insurance, and we put the town and the committee on that policy.
Thank you.
John, do you have any additional questions?
I guess so I'm sure which motivating event. There was a problem in Nebraska Conservation Authority in their trails with one of the parking on
Morgan.
Glamorgan, Galloway, and that one. I'm parking on Glamorgan and on the on Oak House. So
I think you're just asking.
so there will be clarity that parking from your end, there'll be clarity while your riders park at the fairgrounds. I'm assuming that's what you've done in the past.
Yeah, that's correct. That was an incident where we had our timing volunteer drive out to that location to do the timing, and he parked on that Ganaraska side. So we had the car moved. So knowing that, I'll make sure our timers are parked not on the Ganaraska property, and that Ganaraska is aware of the event happening that day as well. So that was a lesson learned from last year that we'll implement this year as well.
Thank you.
So, what trails specifically are you going to be using?
We'll use Trenchtown as pretty well most of the trails in Millbrook. So we'll have them head out from the fairgrounds, likely climb up the new climb trail, descend Trenchtown, climb back up that meadow trail, down the meadow trail towards Elgar, ride along the transit there, out on the fire road. I forget the fire road number, up to Zion to Glamorgan, and then back down Ganaraska Transit and head back towards Millbrook and return. And the afternoon will be a similar, different orientation potentially between Backstage Pass and Trenchtown sort of thing.
Okay, and so at each of those entrances, there'll be signs posted for pedestrians who are going to utilize the trails on that day?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Dave, Maureen, Kirk, anybody else? Any concerns from working?
No, doesn't sound like it's on.
No, I don't have any concerns. Hey, Alex, it's Dave.
Hey, Dave.
This is, I think it's a great event that's been well run and very well received amongst the mountain bike community, and I think amongst the local community as well over the past couple of years. I do know that when they do the time stages, they'll have someone positioned at the beginning and end of each trail, which could provide an additional heads up to someone who might decide to hike on that trail during a time stage. But and Alex can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But
Yeah, that's correct.
I think it's been a great thing to have here, and I'm personally very supportive of it.
Okay. Just one other question for me. Weather. If it's a torrential downpour that day, would the event still happen? Or if it does happen, I just think some of us would be concerned about potential damage to the trails and ruts and things like that. So what's the plan for that?
No, great question. I think torrential downpour, we look at the weather. I know the trails in our area drain very, very well. So if it would look like a localized storm for a short amount of time, we could delay the event to give, a half hour, an hour after the rain to let the trails dry up enough that we wouldn't destroy any trails. Torrential downpour happens throughout the race. We'd let them continue, and we'd work to have the trails repaired. Whether, I've got a bunch of volunteers, and I know myself that can come out and clean up trail and maybe work with the mountain bike club to as well maintain any trails that are damaged throughout the race.
So do we need, you're looking for an approval or disapproval? A motion, okay. But do I want to, is there a motion to approve or disapprove?
Sorry, to support the race, I think would be a better, no, that's okay.
Okay, yeah, so does anybody not want to support it? Okay, and I have a motion to support the enduro race on October 1st, stating that the Millbrook Valley Trails Committee basically supports this. Yeah, that's all we need to do. Okay.
Yeah, Chancellor Netroff and David.
Seconded by Dave Steele. On favor?
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you all.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Thanks so much.
There's something written in that they'll repair. They just said that they would do. Due to potential damage, that they will take responsibility to correct, as he just said that he would. Does that need to be added into anything? Okay.
And Alex will be asked to come back forward to council as well, so. I think. Alrighty, so then Alex, just give me a moment here. I am going to move him back.
Alex, are you still there?
I am, yep.
Just Alex, for you to reach out to council, you could reach out to Carly and she could provide you a delegation form to go to council. Our next council meeting is on August the 14th.
Perfect.
Just want to let you know that we're not meeting in July.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Excellent. On section 6, manipulative.
And yes, I apologize again for those not being attached. So on to,
Okay. Reports. 30.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, Carly actually provided this to me right before the meeting because I was the council and had other meetings that I was in. So it's my understanding, 351.52 isn't currently being processed right now for workday expenses. Yes, that's my understanding. But as of right now, that's the only one that we have, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, some others.
Sure, okay.
Okay, any questions on financial status? Wonderful, thank you. Moving on, ORCA, things.
oh, I apologize. We're just for the reports, we are going to do motions to receive for information, receive the update. So just a mover, a seconder, please. Mr. Powers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The ORCA, start.
Thank you very much for you, Mr. Chair. We believe the 2022 climate change report card was launched at our last work 18. It's pretty that site. Should report cards also there, paperless, so you can see them on our website at your convenience. We did have a display at the Millbrook Street Festival back a couple of weeks ago in early June. That was a great event. So congratulations to all the organizers. We had lots of interest. That was great. In terms of water, we've been out and about some education programs. We were at the Millbrook Children's Water Festival, which was in person for the first time in 3 years. We had over 1,300 students over 2 days. So that was great. And we are in full swing at all campgrounds, and we have our new campground that actually at Lakefield up and operational now. So cool. Yes. Been Warsaw overnight camping facilities. That's it.
Do you have any questions? No, just motion to accept Ms. Carter's report. Second, Maureen, in favor? Very much. Chair report. Marie, you want to start?
Sure. So I did, send it today because I couldn't get my email over. I walked the trail on particularly dry days and was completely dry except for when it died out, which is unheard of. The trails are in great shape. But for those areas that the boardwalk along Baxter Creek needs a lot of work. The board, so between the Baxter Creek loop and the Fort Bank Theater work, and needs some trimming dog as well. The lost loop needs more traffic to keep it in best possible shape, and there's a small tree that needs to be taken down. Med is in very good shape, still needs some stuff for sort of landing steps like that. So it's fall, spring. I didn't put it in my report, but it is something I've been thinking about more and more when I see how much foot traffic seems to be going through that upper gate, broken down gate at the lookout. I think we would be really good neighbors who cooperate with the farmer whose field has been that opening to put a gate there. Preferably line. I thought I have been taking pictures of examples of farm gates that are less flammable, ones that certainly can cedar route. I think it just would be, good citizenship as a joint trail. Facility to have that in place.
So do you have examples about that you sent?
I haven't, I just remembered that had been on as
Something in chain link fence?
steel, gate, typical kind of cattle gate. I'll find my picture of the one that I think is the best and send it to you.
Okay.
So there's that. The fairground is in great shape. Every walker has commented on the stairway. Safer it is, so they're happy there. Lance and I went walking along sort of partially developed new trail that was to be our bypass trail, just to see what is still possible, and it is for the most part. Yeah. And did some pickup on. We also got on a foundation property up above the fairground to look how it is faring. And it's still very interesting as a potential development area in terms of the trail layout that would also be interested a collaborative interest with the Historical Society, I think. Now, we couldn't find the entrance to the old trail that takes you down that beautiful, huge red cedar. Try as we might, we couldn't find the opening. It's just so overgrown with dog strength. But I really do think that area is still developing in the future. So that gets us to essentially the fourth line. And everything around the trout ponds and beyond is in good shape from a trail point of view. There's no required woodworking in that area, even considering everything beyond Elgar is in good shape. There was one sort of head level small tree across a dial detour just our side of the first Baxter Creek Bridge. Someone probably took it down after I saw it last week, but just in case, I sent a picture so that you know what you're looking for. I did include two pictures from Baxter Creek Trail. One of the section of floating bridge that was wedged in to one of the beaver channels just to be a thoroughfare was the Argo going through. I don't know whether we can ever get that thing out there unless they happen to be able to do it. The township happens to be able to do it. Well, they're due for it there. You can see the bumper there. But yeah. So one thing I was wondering about was whether we could build a small platform on top of that bank as an invitation for people to look over the beaver pond. There is the lodge to look at, but certainly the dam, which is still deteriorating gradually. What potential for education will be in the future. But it's something to think about. The other long boardwalk pictures that you're looking at there are the path to the theater, which will need repair before that is passable for the theater goers. And then the dog strangling buying report is really short this year. It's 3/4 of a page long. It's just saying that there have been small nuisance areas of I've been managing manually, some years with the help of the junior rangers and sometimes software federation bankers and hunters and people who come out as well. And we've kept them under control, maybe not, but without spraying eradicating. So this time around, I want, them gone, or as completely gone as possible. Because the limits are getting, the ticks that are seem to like me. So, I've marked those areas off all over the trails, and the 5 very problematic areas that we, that have become evident because of the new trail bill. Just because you're able to get to them so much easier. So, I think with our combined budgets, the mountain bike trails and ourselves, we should be able to get a very good control. And it's really nice to be able to report on year one that every place that is great has excellent. It's trying to avoid strength because it's near the trail. Interfere with some first birthday to really to values. But that's where we're going to probably just so the other area that I did manage to look at first was the periwinkle that had jumped out of the garden under the willow tree at the mill pond, and it jumped over a grassy gap into the story that expanded. It was maybe 20 feet by 20 feet. One day after it rained, it was just so easy to pull it out. But there's also just wall-to-wall gout weed that we really should be just aware of digging out soil. There's a big October maple that's grown up like a weed between the willow, the trailhead that should really be brought down to, and the willow to stay.
Are you going to talk about the garden?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how much more light that would give us around the willow tree, and whether or not we could have a native plant garden. Identify some that are just, that kind of an education type of thing. But it all depends on the light, and that's hard to tell until it gets there.
Okay, so we need to draw Chris and his team to take those down.
I was thinking, yeah, I'm bringing that up now. People have some from the trip.
No,
Bring it up.
yeah, we talked about that in the section 8.4.
Okay, thank you.
Meredith?
I was contacted by a group of volunteers, or a volunteer coordinator with the Canadian Wildlife Foundation. They're in Peterborough. I'm happy to share that contact information. Shall I send it to Maureen?
Probably both, and then we can coordinate if it's a similar program.
And I believe I got something today about funding for invasive species. I've been meeting, so I just saw the title. I haven't read the details, but if it's something that would be helpful.
Thank you.
The other reason. Thanks for this. So that is like the animals to do. We're going to be July, so it's probably the best year for us to be getting a shot to do.
Okay, any questions for Lance or me? Did you want to say anything, Mike?
Had a great time. Just made me truly appreciate how out of shape, man. Getting hiking, but yeah, it's been, I really enjoyed getting through the committee so far. I'm just excited to learn stuff and get out there and clean up as we go along.
Thank
Okay.
you. So that's just a motion to receive the report for information.
Yeah. John, seconded by Lance, in favor?
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, a reminder that. Okay, on the general business, voting bridge and boardwalk update. And I'm going to put this on the agenda because I've had conversations with Chris Allen and he's on holiday this week. Okay, I think we're just as a committee, we're looking for an update and timing. Sure, if what information you have.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but I'll see what I can do. There's a couple things. One, we have good news, and I think it's important. So RTO8 grant, we received the 25,005. So they actually had additional funds that was available. I don't know if Chris told you or not, so please, okay. So they actually had additional funds, which is unusual for, people to call you and say, hey, by the way, we were really excited about your program. It went really well and we got it done because some projects didn't get done at all. And we have additional funds and we'd like to just give it to you. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll take it. So they actually gave us $17,121.65. So the caveat to this, though, is it had to go to the actual bridge project, because that was what we made the application for originally. So basically what happened is instead of borrowing, because we actually, of course, we took the money from the Cowan.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened is we actually had to put the money towards the bridge. So that then we didn't have to utilize those funds at all. We put it all towards the bridge work and everything. And then we now have the funds that we never spent for the Cowan funds, that we could continue to do the boardwalk work that we talked about originally. So remember we talked about it more like a phasing, let's try to get this and let's try to expand it if we could. The original, we did talk about a bigger project originally, but then, as funding came through, they said, okay, tick for this one, tick for that one and that one. So basically, we'd like to talk about that, given the fact of how bad that boardwalk is. And if we have the funds, we can get someone to do the work on that.
Okay.
It's a bigger project is what I'm trying to.
Yes, you're just letting me bring
And I have.
Sure.
Sir.
And we hadn't done anything to that walk in years because of COVID and previous bridge being in such a condition that it was closed, and so placing the boardwalk past the floating bridge all the way up to fairgrounds. So we talked about doing potentially some of that on workday earlier this year, but it was deemed to be, too big a project. So we're looking at this. I was understanding that the township might be in terms of Chris's team, but no, we're looking at hiring a third.
One is when we went out there, we noticed that there was some broken, like obviously with bad shape. So the staff was gonna go out and just do sort of a summary repair right now, just because there was some that were in bad shape, even though we have it closed, people still walking on it. And that's another liability issue that we have, obviously. So the second part, so yes, the person was reaching out to you, I think last week, or something, just to say, can we get out here? Just want to make sure you're okay. Catch some of this concern areas. But the bigger picture was today to say, look at this money and we could get something as well as staff, but maybe get something that was prepare that whole section as much as we have with these funds.
Yeah, so the conversation I had with Chris was around the getting staff to repair in the interim what needs to be done. My concern with that was that, I didn't want it to be wasted effort and didn't want it to be wasted in terms of materials, right? Yeah, no, it hasn't been done yet. So we talked about that and said, whatever board we put down, potentially we could bring them up again and then we discussed if that's just a wasted effort. But I guess the larger question, what do you have any sort of idea on cost, what more important timing is? Has anybody been found? Has it been tendered?
No, so we didn't want to do anything. Permanent will come to the committee and sharing information with you. And with your support, then we would go out and get some quotations and talk about what that would look like and bring it back to you.
Okay. So,
Whether it be a patient,
yeah,
same quotation based on our purchasing policy and maybe an RFP. But I'm saying quotation now because I'm not sure, depending upon what the cost would be, because we have a threshold have to adhere to. But whatever those might be, we would take some pictures of that area, which and we would draft an RFP stating we want the boardwalk to be repaired, how we be repaired, with what material we would like the boardwalk to be prepared at. And then we would set it out there and see if we can get some quotations that would come back to the committee and.
so we're fair enough.
I honestly,
Determine.
I don't know. Sure, yeah. I'm just so excited that we additional funds that down to our people say, hey, I have this money and would you like it? And it gives an opportunity to actually get some work done, and we have to hire someone to get in there and get that done for us. I think it's a great opportunity to get some stuff.
Okay, back to the money.
Yeah.
Which money do we- Because if you use that 17,162 for the grid, that means the CAL money is completely untapped.
Correct.
So was that 18.5?
They can total is 16,500 for the motion, and the remainder was still in there, and I think it was a total.
There was more, yeah.
Yeah, so in total, I think you're up around 18
There's no additional money.
for this year.
Because, just because of that going, all went.
But yeah.
Okay,
There might be some a little bit, but not much, but we can confirm on this constantly for sure. But we definitely have over 17,000, potentially up to 19,000 to be utilized.
so my first thought would be that the bridge costs over 50,000. Right? I'm just wondering how much. I'm expecting a quote to come in to be a lot more than the 18,000, $19,000 we have on hand. So if that's the case, then where does that additional money come from? Is there additional money to be found? And so, like, I have no idea what's gonna, what RFPs will come back, but I was surprised. Well, I was flabbergasted with the bridge cost 54,000.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear that. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
They asked. What's the situation if we get folks back in the range of 25,000?
I think if they were in the range, like say we had 18,000 or something, or we'll exactly. So I would definitely report that to you guys. But if it was say we had 18,000. Now that we
Yeah.
could possibly utilize it, quote came in back in at 25,000. For me, I would suggest that staff take a report to council to receive additional funds to tap up to the 25. If that's what it was. I'm not sure what it is at this time, it's hard for me to say, but whatever, if you needed additional funds and we had this opportunity to work done, depending upon season and approvals. I don't think we should miss the boat. I think we could try to see if we can get somebody in there.
Additional money.
Oh, no, I would take a report and stuff.
Thank you, Chairman, through you. I guess what I'm trying to understand, if we were building, we could be on the floor. So now that we're out of the bridge area, would that be what RFP, like an RFP would imply we might be getting more than we're asking for them to tell us what's the right thing to do, which could cost more than if we just said, we want you to build a boardwalk the way we would build a boardwalk. I guess that would have some my thought would be that would have some impact on the costing, because we can build a lot of boardwalk when we have the manpower for $18,000. So I guess the question is, and I don't know what the right answer is, but because if we're building more trails, right, or building more boardwalk, I was trying to think, what do we do? We've been building some of the boardwalk narrower because they work well for like small trails. when we're trying to think about accessibility and making some of the trails more accessible, do we have to go more complicated than, say, the wider trails that we've been, or the wider boardwalks that we've built? Because if you want to be technically accessible, you almost have to be able to cross a wheeled vehicle or meet a wheeled vehicle. And that would be wider, I think.
Vast majority of that replacement is going to be past the point of the floating bridge to the fairgrounds tracks. Fairgrounds turning, there's no bikes.
I thought maybe somebody made the comment, we might get a little way design it. But I'm. Fairgrounds to Zion is. Yeah. Yeah. But the vast majority of the board place. Even on the section like Back Street. Past the floating bridge to the fairgrounds. Yeah, I guess probably again, looking. When back there between beyond the fairgrounds is wet. It would be nice, there have been times I've walked through there and it's been pretty muddy in a lot of places. So if we were thinking of that part, I think my perception is a lot more people using that both for bikes and walking than there were 10 years ago. And if we could build boardwalk all the way to Zion, I think, and to my mind, that would resolve a lot of issues. But then whether that can be done with thought about accessibility, because like anyway, I don't know whether like it's not considered whatever a wild trail, not accessible now. We can possibly make it more accessible and still call it a wild trail or whatever the term is. But again, they're just, I'm trying to get the idea of, whether, first of all, something as simple as boardwalk could do that. And if the perception is it would be cheaper than putting an RFP out and getting something slightly superior in some ways. There, I rambled on.
So yes, when you were speaking with Chris, thinking, and this is just we were thinking intentionally to try to allow, like we just finished the bridge, so we were trying to do the boardwalk as far as we could possibly go. Like I'm not talking about for an enormous amount of money. If we have those funds, like maybe we can enable and but correctly, there's a lot that needs to be done, like the outside of that bridge area, like there's a lot in there. And so if we can put that out and be able to get someone to do that, I'm just thinking it's a lot of work for just do that work. And so maybe we only go so far. The committee continues and continues to do work days and be able to build onto it, but at least we get ourselves out of that area. Like I was shocked. I mean, I know, started this like 22 years ago, and I hate to say, when you go in there and see what it looked like 2 years ago, and you look and see what it's done now, it really needs some love and care in there. It's such a beautiful spot. If we can just sort of expand that boardwalk a little bit, and then you guys can continue to build onto it, it just gets us out of there. And it was interesting because I was just recently talking to his mater originally. I know it's not wild, kind of thing. And we talked about just trying to make it. We had this additional fund, and we could sort of get someone in there to sort of expand it as much as they possibly could, and then we take over from that point on, whether it's staff as well in the committee and work days, etc. But at least it gets us out of where it needs to be, because we're missing out on that area. Now, as a municipality, if I may, I really like the idea of having it accessible to people in that area. I think that's really important as well. Bigger size, like their original intent had in there. There might be areas we can't, I understand, but. Yeah, and that's fine, I'm not talking about anything else. And you have two people locked up, that's fine, thing.
Yeah, I think we have to be mindful, well, first of all, a big part of the deterioration was when happened with all the materials sections for the bridge.
Yes, that was gonna be, yes.
Big. But the other issue is that beavers will be. We do. Often for the next millennium, you know, so whatever we do have to be. It will, the water will rise on occasion in that area. I'm actually wondering if the area just after the that runs through a fairly steep section, like the first, get a 50 feet from the border, if that should be some kind of border. Yeah, so if they, my feeling is that if a contractor would be willing to do that, it would be so much easier for us to do the rest. I say this easily because I'm the one with the hammer. And the drill. I just carry wood. Yeah, the one concern I have about contractors coming in is that quite often they're not as careful as we are about where stuff is. You know,
And I said, you know, you're saying, I think we have a challenge, even, we knew we were gonna have a challenge with the floating bridge, because you need to get the equipment in there to do the work. And so we recognize that from time to time, if you have people coming in, it is a challenge to get the equipment all the way in there. It is very hard, so there could be some kind of ramifications. But we do try the best we can to mitigate that. This is just
one concern after having heard Alex is just that we make sure that whatever is needed to protect the trails of the state, that is done in place before October 1st, so that nothing that we do having to do with the boardwalk repair changes that, if we made that commitment to.
they don't go in.
They wouldn't be on that trail,
They're
right?
going on that trail.
Well, they go down the fairgrounds or the fair line, but it,
They'll go this, yeah, they'll go that way. We don't even, like, I don't even know. That seems to be the challenge these days, finding anything to do, anyone actually applies or any, so it could be a challenge anyways.
If staff were to do it with the materials that we provide on purchase, is there a way that gets billed so that we can use the money, still allocate the money towards the work, even though staff's doing it?
So what we're proposing was to get someone in to give us a quote to do the work.
Okay, that's what you're proposing.
Yes, that's what we were proposing for that, and then if we can help from that point on, when the committee is working on it, we would help that way as well.
Okay.
If like staff needs to come in, but we're not looking to build back on staff time, it's our property, we're in it together, you know, we have to still do that, we wouldn't bill it back. We would just do the work.
The discussions we've had today, and
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like we could come and tell them and do something. Staff to be able to build. Be able to use this, or when things get broken. You know, things need to be done, we try to do it that way. We are trying to make more of a conscious effort to do that, because we do have liability issues, and it is we have to be responsible for it. So we're putting it schedule to have staff will do it check as morning. But to build a complete board or something like that, I don't.
Mr. Chairman, I guess the question to Marie, you're indicating that you think there's an area beyond the bridge that needs more than what we would do if we were doing it. Are you thinking that it would be on treated 6x6s and, or do you think that's to be a floating thing?
Well, it does make me wonder, from year to year, especially during spring runoff, but especially with the Petersburg area. That area was almost underwater for periods if the structure side was keeping up through the boards of the boardwalk.
Yeah, I
It doesn't-
so we've already discussed, Chris and John. At the very most, the joys will be.
You think that if that were there would give enough, not really stability, but would it cope with, does the water come up higher than that, or is it?
I think you probably get 6x6 within by machine, which very good. We were talking 2x6. And then just the normal cedar on top.
I'm just trying to understand, you know, if how much we would be spending to do that part versus like whether we do part of it in more expensive fashion and then we'd be able to.
Well, yeah, I don't think you need treated joints for the whole way.
Yeah.
But I think in specific areas, right? And that's, but again, I don't know how far $18,500 is gonna get us. Bill is 20 feet.
Exactly, and that's honestly the way we're thinking, like, but we need to get it, like, the concern that I have through for council and for us is we have to do something. We have to liability wise, because we know people are utilizing, even though they shouldn't, and you shouldn't walk in it, we know they are, and there's too many errors there that people could actually hurt themselves, so we have to be more diligent on that.
Yes, there's still better. That's just and just the bad.
Let's see. Getting to.
But is staff telling us, township telling us that we have to spend this very kind of money?
No, the money, no, the money was given to the community when we're suggesting, because we got the extra money, is that could be a foundation to start getting this done. And if we have to, depending upon maybe sitting down and taking, I mean, I would be more than like, and if I have to take a report to council, then we're happy to do that. Well, we're just, it's not.
We need to. But the thing we need to think of too, there's potential impacts. But before we get there.
With regards to your thoughts about accessibility, I think the only way we could make that whole route truly accessible to differently able people, if that's what you're getting, would be astronomically expensive in today's it would be like what's at the Y, for long boardwalks, essentially still. And besides that, I mean, you have to go through a whole lot of inaccessible mid and loop to get even to the floating bridge. So, and you have to have parking at the side and the fairgrounds, so the hill would never be accessible. So now, mind you, the portion of the mansion could be accessible, that kind of thing. Anything level that's quite level could be made accessible.
Kurt, do you have any thoughts?
Lots. I mean, I just think that I think there's the bigger picture, something that Maureen alluded to, is that the worst section is from immediately the other side of the floating bridge to the end of that first bit of the big day boardwalk where it comes out the old dam on Bank of Creek.
Yeah.
Which is a relatively limited section, and that is in the worst shape. And but that's also the area that is most prone to flooding. The bigger picture, as I see it as well, is that 2 weeks from now, that whole area could be flooded again if the beavers so decide. And so whether we or whoever spent thousands of dollars, I think probably tens of thousands of dollars to do even that section, it could easily just be ruined and washed away unless that is built into consideration. So I think I appreciate the idea, but I think it could be, it's that short-term thinking versus long-term thinking, and I understand that it needs to be repaired ASAP or something done about it. There is access and liability issues, but I think hugely unlikely for that 18,000 to be even cover a tenth of even that limited section. That's my gut, especially in today's climate, but who knows? And obviously we can go ahead and try and get some kind of request for, what people doing funding proposals, whatever it's called. But I'd be hugely surprised if 18,000 is even like a drop in the bucket of what we would get back for that. But we can obviously find that out. So I guess in essence, what I'm saying is, although I think there is a short-term immediacy, I think rushing into it without thinking about, okay, especially that first section I described from the floating bridge to the back to Creek, that is most vulnerable to at least where beavers have historically been building, is most likely to be potentially just sort of washed away and or wasted effort, wasted money, and be it floating in that section, be it just we need to elevate it a bit more, whatever. I don't have any sort of firm ideas or answers there, but I guess that's my gut reaction to this, and in short, my preference, because of that not wanting to rush in, is that yes, we could direct council to put out a request for proposals and see, maybe we'll be surprised, and that would be great. But I will personally prefer, be it a combination of volunteers and or with staff, to do some band-aiding for the meantime. That's my perspective.
Thanks. You, Chair. A question more, I guess, for that. You know how the community center had the harvest table dinner fundraiser? Is that something that we could conceivably try to look at doing and replicating to do fundraising for a major project that we're discussing for this? So obviously we're not trying to raise millions of dollars to open up the community center, but if it's we could raise 100,000, like, obviously I don't think that, the final month numbers you made from that, but that could significantly put a few more dollars in our pockets. I think that it would be a great community opportunity. Like, once again, and it was a huge success when you did it previously. Is that something that we could look at? Because as we're all looking at this, all I'm thinking about is how do we raise more money instead of just strictly going to council? Is there something independently that we could do for fundraising purposes? The support the Millbrook Valley Trail Society kind of thing. So
I think if you, through you, Chair, I think if we're gonna have to deal with this, and it's not, can't do a band-aid.
Yes.
I think if we, and I agree, like, this is just a topper, if we put all the stuff that we have to get it done right there. I think we need to have a game plan of what our priorities are, what needs to be done on them, and if we wanted to do a fundraiser, I think that's a great idea. I think, but people need to see what they're gonna fundraise for. Maybe it's a design, both the design, maybe put a time frame, maybe do all that kind of stuff, and then there's lots of options that be considered, for sure. It's just a nice idea. Yeah.
Something like after
Yeah.
the active replication of what we had done. And, you know, I think we were all smart enough we could come up with it.
So, but it's something that we need to put our attention on to do something about that area for sure.
Just very much correct that. Thinking. Thinking maybe if it has the potential to be washed away that quickly, and I'm not saying it doesn't. Like in terms of us buying the treated lumber and building boardwalk ourselves. We can, if on a work day, if all we were doing is flopping down 2x6s and putting in screws, 2x6s on the edge and screw nailing pieces to them, we can do a lot of feet in a day. Even if we were just, so how many feet of that flooded area, if we decided to just patch the easily flooded area, and then when it floats away, we drag it back or save what we can. Like, I've been on work days, but I'd hesitate to guess whether we could do 20 feet or 50 feet, you know, with 6 or 8 people. When we're putting the bridge together, we, you know, it's a lot more complicated, but we can get a lot of stuff done in a day. It's like, is that something we should think about? It try to get through at least that bad wet spot and as far as we can.
But.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. This was, you know, I think the complexity of the floating bridge. Well, we first talked about, you know, how we would do it as a committee, it really became a bit unattainable in terms of the work that needs to be done and the removal of the structure. I wouldn't put this in the same box as that. This is what we've always done, but this place boardwalk, and yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, but we got 40-some people out in May. So I think if we had to tackle it ourselves, it isn't out of the question. But
I wonder if there's such a thing as, you know, floating dock kits that would be useful, like useful for just that section that we could assemble ourselves.
There certainly are.
yeah, we could put. We could put in polystyrene in between the joists and the boardwalk, you know, the top, as if you were building a floating dock. But I don't have any memories of that. Any memories of that being completely underwater.
But the end of the floating bridge, the left-hand turn, and then the sharp right-hand turn. That sharp right-hand turn where it,
That's true.
that was completely underwater for a while.
Okay, but you need to float.
No, not just. I guess the, you know, we just paid someone to do what we've done, if you will.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know, I'm not that excited about spending that money on stuff that we could do, even though I know it's a lot of.
You actually have the extra money to do it, if you guys wanted to do it. My understanding, Chris, is that you didn't want to do it, so if you concentrate on some other, that's why we were saying that about in the after, if you someone to come in and do it, then that's an option. But if you can.
I think more something that sort of suggested to us that we concentrating because the township has the thoughts. Yeah.
Concentrate on that.
Yeah, because we talked about tackling this issue on work day in May, and so it's all focused on the scare.
Oh, because
Yeah, I mean, and I'm saying. I don't think we as a committee. But yeah, I mean, it is a lot of work. Right? And if we do it, I mean. 30, 40 degrees today. You don't want to get years. do we want to do in September, but then that just puts us. You know, my whole point of bringing this up was that we need something to time. The bridge has been open and ready for 4 months, and people are asking, right, we want to reopen this, and. If we do an RFP and we don't get something back until the end of August, and it turns out to be $90,000. By the time we figure that all out, then maybe we've lost another season. Yeah, I'm not saying.
No,
But quickly, these things can done. I mean, I know it took a while just to find
had a hard time.
people to do the floating.
Yeah.
Well, and this, let's just say if we were to do it as a boardwalk sort of thing, maybe a bit more innovative, PT, whatever. But if you think about it, obviously, yes, there are decking specialists and that, but there's no companies that's their core business, you know, that I know of, and there's money in it. So it's a pretty niche thing. So, you know, I think that could count against us just in terms of RFP is put out.
With all due respect, if the committee wants to go ahead and do it, the good thing is you've got some extra money now that you could do whatever you need to get done. If you wish to do it. We're here to work with you, you know, so we're learning guys what to do.
Yeah,
It's the good thing.
is it, I mean, is it worth looking at things concurrently? Is it worth having the township investigating only P while we investigate in what it would take to do it as a committee? Because if by some miracle they come back and say, yeah, we can do it all for 18.5. Okay. Yeah, we don't know if it's gonna happen, but I think at least it would give us some, yeah.
No, yeah, and I would suggest make it just a straightforward, thinking that it's unlikely that doing a third party may actually be able to work out. I would just keep it simple and do it from the floating bridge to that first bit of the back debris, or however many 4 feet that is, and just essentially say it as replacing the boardwalk. As it sort of thing.
What about the floating part? That's the.
Well, and that would be part of what the proposal would be. At that point, if they've got a couple of posts holding up that particular section rather than relying on
Yeah.
PT or whatever, just sitting on the ground.
Right.
And then simultaneously, you know, maybe we have in a tentative schedule of trying to do as much as we can of full work days.
Yeah.
I don't know if we full volunteer work days.
Well, there's already a lot of words out there.
Yeah,
It's already almost 30 words out there.
yeah,
In theater, we need to haul a lot of pressure treated out there.
Yeah.
I would want to see us rebuild, and it be whether we do it or a contractor does it. I would want to see pressure. Okay, so what does the township want from us then at this point? Do we need to approve a motion for you to explore the possibility to have this work done, or?
If you want us to explore getting some prices, I wouldn't say an RFP because I'd like to not go down that route. But if you'd like us to explore, seeing if we can even if we can get someone come in, take a look at it and see how much it would cost and give us an estimate, and then we can report back to you. That's really special. Yeah, like with our, you know, people, get a bunch of people. We can see. Even if
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, I think. Again,
I think Chris just for us to say we could try to get send out a quotation, see if we can get some site, see if we can get a price, and then report back to you. Then you could determine. It's not fair.
And coming up as being like that, and there are obviously, our companies build those slightly, whatever the grade above, I don't mean the grade above the work we do, but do professionally build walkways in wet areas. And, they might do it hours back as opposed to, we ask them what they would do and then have the conversation about what we could do. So, no, I think it's great, the conversation. I guess so I'm trying to make this a motion. Make a motion, yeah, to do whatever. Or do you,
It doesn't really matter.
It could just be direction, because we're not, there's no funds involved.
Staff investigate.
Yeah.
Staff part,
Yeah.
and we would back on some policy support.
Okay. And then a few of us can go out and walk it and throw some ideas. I've got some thoughts already.
Take pictures of the pictures to send it with the. Like,
Well, I think we need
Do we have money?
if the removal of the existing board is being expensive for the existing, there's stuff that haven't been affecting that side. But if there's a lot of stuff to be cleaned up, that's going to cost money if it's something to do a work day and do ourselves at a time.
Well, it's all cedar, so we've always just sort of fenced it off the trail, because it just naturally.
But if you hire somebody to do that, it's gonna be a lot more percentage. If it's a matter of. Yeah.
You get the quote just for that section. That would be my preference. Because the other aspect, coming back to the broader picture, is, let's just say, by going to there and not considering anything past that, then that still allows us, if there is flooding, to consider the alternative trail and crossing back to Freetown at that point, which is a whole nother.
Yeah, and I think too that anything past that point is pretty easy for us to do.
Yeah.
Then. Okay, so is that clear?
I was wondering if there's any informal possibility. Did you develop any kind of relationship at all with anybody from RJ Machine when or did yeah. So, informally, what would you do? You were back and forth over that area. More than the way to be with people. What would you do in this situation?
I would be great to suggestion, but he's not. Show that conversation.
Yeah.
My college. Okay, so that moves on to 8.2, which is the potential Meds Bridge reconstruction. So some of you will remember during workday, there was a strong effort to fix, quote unquote, or temporarily fix the Meds Bridge reconstruction. So we're talking about the first bridge on Mackie Creek Trail, we all used to know as lower Meds, past sort of the tiny S boardwalk, and it goes over the Ferguson Creek. So the first major bridge with railings. It is not in great shape. It is slanting quite heavily. As I said, there was quite an effort to sort of right it on workday, and that certainly has helped, but it is I hesitate to use the word dangerous in front of township staff. But I would not go on it with 20 people saying. Yeah, I think it was one of the first bridges built, so we're talking. Anyway, I think it certainly is on our list to be replaced. I would like to see it replaced this year, if possible. That, given our previous conversation just now, throws up a lot of other possibilities. The good news is that it is fairly close to Meds Park, meaning transportation of material would not be too difficult. Personally, I would like to see it built in like the same way we built our most recent bridges with steel beams instead of 6x6. It's because I think it'll outlast all of us. Obviously, that would involve getting information and permission from Orca to be able to bring in an auger to drill into the bank on either side and pour concrete piers to place that steel on. Once that is done, however, if you remember how we built the bridges on Station Trail, it actually goes quite quickly because the 6x6s go in between the I-beams quite snugly. And we bolt them in place and then we just lay boardwalk on top and we can add obviously handrailing on either side that is sufficient to the township's safety requirements. Anyway, that obviously is not in our budget. I haven't even gone so far as to quote steel prices, but I imagine they're quite a bit more expensive than when we did Station Trail 5 or 6 years ago. I looked at the steel beams that we had purchased previously that are in the yard. And I think unfortunately during the new construction and regrading of that event, the steel beams got moved and then they're removed with that. So then now
The tractor, I think that one's doing all that, then,
yeah.
yeah.
And so they are almost now useless.
Okay.
Because once they're back, we can bend them back.
Okay.
And
Yep.
and the sections that is not bent is not long enough. So like it's bent, it's bent at 12 feet, we need 24 feet. So anyway, it looks like we probably would need to, I mean, I can double check that, but it looks like we probably need to purchase 2 new steel beams if that's the engineered wood or 6x6s, but again. Like I said, I mean, did steel prices. Oh, the beams, yeah. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, that was, what do other people think? Does this need to be a priority? I mean, it's probably our most used trail by far.
Through you, Chair, so that if the township is gonna replace the damaged ones, is there additional metal that we require as you wanted to do this reconstruction?
No.
No, there would just be, okay.
For this particular.
Okay.
Eventually, we would need.
Okay.
Other bridges.
What I'm thinking is, in my pre-existing. Working with Fourth Line and, going in the community and doing sponsorship and stuff, I've got a good relationship with both Cowork Metals and Havelock Metals, and this could be like a, if we know what we need ahead of time, then it would make it easier for me to do a pitch and have them come on as a sponsor and donate the product. And then we could, have it as we could try to like maybe have the trade schools at Fleming, but the students come in for like practicum work experience, and here's Cowork Metals and donated the product. We've got the younger tradespeople coming in to do the work theirs, and we can do much more free. Yeah. So I think that, and there's that kind of sponsorship where you're doing disciplines kind of thing, and companies. It's a real big new way that sponsorship is working, where you're seeing mutual partnerships happening, and then with the township in with that. That could be something that we could, but I have no problem being the person with my hat in my hand going, hey, can you help? I don't know if that's a conflict on behalf of being a counselor in the township, we can discuss that, but I've always been of the belief that you can only be turned down if you ask. If you don't ask, then you'll never, that opportunity. So if that's something that we want to look at, I would volunteer myself to be the spokesperson to try to make some money for us.
Yeah, that's certainly a road we could go down. I think first of all, we need to agree that this is something we want to take on and what the plan is. In and amongst 8.1. For the Virgin Boardwalk.
I think your position is kind of clear that you wanted to have the bridge at Matt's done this year, so does that circumvent
Well,
the boardwalk
I'd
or?
like to have- I don't, mind being 70. Instead of that.
I think it's a very reasonable opinion, and I would think slightly on trying to get the trail here. Just because it's closed, whereas that one, I mean, I totally agree that it's not. It's rustic, it's an interesting crossing, however you want to frame it, but it is open and usable.
Meds is the one that's open.
As you're thinking, isn't as high priority as.
To me, personally, I think I would lean more towards trying a direct effort.
Okay.
But I'm not like that over. That would be my personal preference. I'd be more than happy to help out on the.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of what Lynn said, if we could get carpenters, like the bridge, we pretty much did ourselves easily, but if we were trying to put a project together where we were trying to replace a big part of the trail, and there were 6 or 8 carpenters that knew how to handle screwdrivers and things, I think we could make more progress on the boardwalk with them than using them on the bridge. Not that I'm.
No,
But you know that that's available, like our carpenters.
well, it's part of it's pursuant as to what they need to graduate, so they have to have a certain amount of work, we could get the media into that, so. Funding would love that, but, you know, of course, and film everything and here we go, you know. There's a couple of days project of before and after and put the plaque and with ribbon cutting and then it's like they're a superhero.
It's been a very different. As long as the bridge doesn't fall down. I think I take first point. Just the priorities. Yeah. Whether.
Which should maybe be a 2024 project.
I guess the flip side of it is let's just say we're all surprised and we get back a quote in a couple of weeks' time saying we can replace the boardwalk for 18,000. So let's do the bridge to the port. Yeah. There is that uncertainty.
Okay, so why don't I start to put together some of the prices then? Just because I mean, we'll need to do that.
Well, and I think it would be great, you know, if you're generous of the council to offer to get the beach replaced. There's no harm, we know we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So we can get those in, we probably would have, you know, could get wood in relatively quickly if
Well,
needed.
yeah, we're gonna talk about the one here, people plan.
And so, you know, potentially, we could still do it in the fall.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, a lot of the bridge building is almost like a puzzle, right? We have all, we just cut beforehand, it's basically just putting it together. What would be timelines for being able to do to drill into the banks and pour concrete? Is there only certain times of year we can do that?
That's actually, I can't answer
Okay.
second, but we can certainly, if you wanted to write to Dawn. Just let, okay, here's what we're thinking. Sort of restrictions that you need to do.
Okay, yeah, this we mentioned.
The back to the creek ban has been fall.
You're not gonna be more. So that's really the big concern is, are you doing a false lying species? You do false lying species, very.
Is that even a spawning? Because it's just a spring bed, it just starts up the hill.
Yeah.
It's fishing. Yeah.
If we were to utilize Fleming, then that would obviously have to be a fall thing to cool them, but I can definitely contact the department. And have this work so that if they were willing to have it, all the third year students that will graduate that year, it's like, hey, here's an exciting thing because they're gonna do great in sometime in the school, and they can give them a heads up, and maybe like a short list of like, you know, we need 8 people and there's 20 people and all 20 of them participate in the project and have their name on it, that, you know, that could be something that at least we can do as much planning ahead of time for that. So that's another consideration where whatever you want to do immediately right now, if we were to include Fleming, then that would.
Through you, Chair, staff are happy to reach out if you provide us the details, or we can include you to reach out to Dawn for
Yeah.
permitting costs, any concerns.
I'll just start you. Okay, excellent. 8.3, downtown trail expansion. Dave, please do this.
I don't have anything. This was, I don't know, was this supposed to be on for the last meeting or?
I just had it included in to add to this agenda, so we can.
Okay. Well, I can give a small update is that
Okay.
I've tried to clarify ownership of a couple of properties towards the library end with Chris, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay,
It's been a while, but he did update me.
this is looking forward, creating a bike path from existing bike paths to the downtown. Such.
Yeah, multi-use including bicycles, you get, so that people who use the trail can park downtown. And we can just drive more parking downtown versus Zion Line or further.
We're just very limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhat of an issue though with how limited parking we already have in the downtown, so if be utilizing the library parking lot instead of taking away from the actual like King Street and Main Street or King Street and Upper. I know that you would get a ridiculous amount of blowback from the business owners because already as one, I've been hearing constantly from our customers that, oh, you know, I can't find anywhere to park. And so that would be the only opposition that I think that you would find from business owners where anything that we're doing to exacerbate the pre-existing parking problems, and council's working, you know, John, I'm sure can speak to his many years of being on council, and it's only a problem. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. So that was never problems.
I think people tend to park as close as possible to the trail.
Yep.
And as close as possible to their favorite trail sort of thing. So so it is more likely they would park at the library or by the dam or something. Yeah.
So just working on it. Very good.
Yes, just waiting to hear back from Chris.
Okay, so yeah, we can follow up. So
Yeah, I think the idea would be that, sorry, I thought that we had talked about this before.
Yes.
So, okay, so I think once I know what properties are township owned, then I could you know, draw a potential route and then propose that to everyone.
Great,
And we could go from there.
excellent. Okay, any questions for Dave? No. Great, 8.4, tree removal and replacement around dam and pond. So there are dead trees around the pond, very close to the mill dam. There are two sort of in front of Kirk's house, just on that side, adjacent to Ann Street.
One now.
Well, as you can see, and then there was one sort of directly behind the gate on the storage. So I asked township staff if they could remove those. And they removed two of them last week, and they did that very quickly and efficiently. The third one's a bit larger, and it's going to take some more planning, but it is going to come down. Now, what I asked Chris about and township staff is about replacement. I seem to remember that there was some program in place that when the tree out, that there was funding in place to be able to replace those trees. So that is being looked into. I'll hopefully have an answer for that in the next few weeks. And if that's still in place, and that's great, we can hopefully have some input on what kind of trees are replanted in their spot. If not, then maybe we could talk in September about potential money to purchase new trees, because I wasn't against the trees being there, but they were kind of unsightly, seeing as they were very, very dead. So that's all I have on that stuff, just to keep you updated. Any questions on that? Okay, 8.5 Hope Mill. So I contacted the gentleman at Hope Mill. They started cutting a few weeks ago. In the past, we've done an order of 150 boards. We ordered 150 boards in 2021. We did not make any orders last year in 2022. In 2021, the boards were $13 a board for a 2x6 by 8 footers, and they are now $16 a board, which is still a very good price. And they are not passing their full costs on to us, because they said that since 2021, their costs of the raw wood, i.e. the trees themselves, are more than double. So we're getting a $3 increase in boards and per board. And usually when we order an 8-foot board, it's almost closer to 2 feet. Or it's closer to 10 feet, sometimes 12 feet. So we're getting a lot out of that. We have a number of boards, close to 30 out by the floating bridge now. And we've got about 30 boards in the yard. But I would say that probably closer to 20 of those are usable. So we're in desperate need of wood. So I was going to ask that a motion could be made for the purchase of 150 boards for Hope Mill, and we should have those ready. Should we be ready to do any construction in September? It should be ready by mid-August if we put the word in. So Lance, sure.
Where are we purchasing the lumber from?
We've always purchased it from home.
Hope Mill, okay. Because they're giving us butter. I was just thinking.
Oh, yeah.
What they gotta do sponsorship and.
No. That's price from
Perfect.
run by volunteers and.
Okay.
It's the way to go.
Trust me, try and save us every penny. Maybe just the bucket if we.
My only comment would be, is given there is the potential of us using a lot of wood in the fall, would that be enough? Still, let's just say if we were to replace all of that boardwalk and the footbridge protector, I'm not sure that would be enough, would it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? So we got 30 boards out there now. Those are 8 footers. Remember, we cut those in half. So that's 60 pieces of boardwalk. And so we can put on an 8-foot section. I think we can put 10 pieces per 8-foot section, depending on our spacing. So yeah, I mean, again, we've always ordered around 150, but yeah, there's no. I mean, it doesn't go bad. We wanted to order more, we certainly could.
Probably won't be any cheaper next year.
We have the money for that, I guess. 200 boards would be.
150 boards would be 2,400. Yeah, we have to sit there. The only money we spent to date is a few $100s on workday supplies. 6,000.
I just have to double, I believe we're just over $1,000 for materials and supplies between the saws and just I hope it was the saws or the drills. So 200 at 16, I think 32 is getting a little bit too high. I can pull our numbers, but you're definitely safe with 150 at 2,400. If you want to do an upset limit, I would just caution the committee that you are close to your $4,800 limit at that point.
I thought we had 6,000.
You have for materials and supplies, 4,800 for spraying contracted services. Say 1,500. Even took my budget. Just over 1,000. Is there an option to purchase more, or you have to do your order kind of at the beginning?
For your 200 boards, that would be 32. We still got a very time.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome to use your reserve.
If we're buying treated lumber. Or parts of this, or maybe this, I'm not sure about this is gonna affect.
But that, again, it's a good one. So I think the treated lumber. We would either have to go to council and make a presentation saying this is a special circumstance and we need additional funding for this. Or we would have to dip into the foundation. But that the cedar would also be included in that special request to council. It could be, right? So we say we're gonna replace 300 feet of boardwalk, we need X $100 worth of pressure treated wood, and we need X $100 worth of cedar. So we can all take that too. Right? So 200. It's 200 boards. There's 400 pieces of 4-foot boardwalk. That's $3,200. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think. We don't have to pay tax, so we get tax back, don't we?
Depending on the purchase, there is a net municipal HST that we do get a slight portion of the tax back. I don't know how the tax breakdown for this purchase is, so I would need to defer to Kimberly Pope for final numbers.
I think the authority gets it back, but we've got different financial status, because we've got charitable status, so I don't know how it works.
Yeah, you get a municipal tax.
Well, the other thing, I think can do. These people can do 150. I'm assuming probably a problem going higher than that, but I mean, yeah, that may be, they may just say, well, so settling. Yeah, 38 by the floating grid, then it does down the stair. Got 30 or so at the yard. I don't think I have. Things are more fast, just like. Just where you still. Okay, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever you think is.
I can't make a one.
But I think we would take your recommendation on how much inventory you think we should have. Maybe better at estimating these.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
I agree with it. What that's what. I trust your opinion. I'll make a motion then. For 200 boards purchase.
Yeah, that'll work at $16 a board. An upset limit is cleaner. If we could do an upset limit of 3,200, that would be. Okay, it's our natural.
Second round there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen, did you cover this in your report?
Yeah.
Forgot.
Thank-
So any questions on?
So just I from staff level, we had a discussion with both the chair Robert Jackson and then Maureen. Have we coordinated any spraying to date, or do we need to, are we utilizing the full 1,500 towards the spraying?
It looks as though we likely will.
Okay.
And then the mountain bike trail, mountain bike club is contributing as well. So that will, I'll encourage Sean to sort of hit folks.
Advised.
Yeah.
1,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he always gives us his show. Which is my.
Then if the committee will entertain me, can we please get a motion just to support the spraying for Ironwood to the upset limit of 1,500? Mr. Flips. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you for coordinating that. Okay.
Okay, I think we sort of like the work on it needs to be done. What should be done, what needs to be done.
I think I'm in order to bring up a question regarding David trail expansion. I guess would be the phrase like we talked about what was going to happen. Or the previous iteration of Valley Trails talked about. We hear from time to time about the loop and hear about and quite a bit of conversation about how we would link the subdivision to the village, and then there's the conversation about the linkage for the mountain bike. I'm guessing you've had some conversation with staff for the linkage for the mountain bikes to other areas, and I guess I don't think we can ask for an update now, but I think maybe we, seeing as how we're starting a new work plan, might be interesting to have some clarification on that. Or anybody else feels that way. I don't know what's, there's certainly things going on with the subdivision and you know, that is totally developers that all that's being linked. Anyway,
Nope, nope.
I guess I'm curious, and I think we should be in conversation about where we're going at maybe possibly the next meeting. That's
So meeting is for September, they'll kick your thought forward down the road.
Yeah, so again, I do apologize. I am not a planner, so if I use the wrong word, I don't mean it in that term, but I do believe as part of the new subdivisions, there was discussion on linkage and connections and proposed trail routes. That's something that I can see if we can bring forward to the committee and provide so that we know what might be coming on in the future. And then in terms of right now, the committee is working off of the 2010 Trails Master Plan. And we're also in that period where we're going through the Parks and Recreation Master Plan update. So we have a lot of old documents that I think we're trying to update and bring together. And again, that Trails Master Plan is something you're probably going to want to complement your Recreation Master Plan. So I think it's a great goal and a great project for the committee to be working on. But I do feel that those documents are out of date and that there is quite a bit of information that we need to provide for you.
But didn't we, I mean, like last town council, didn't we go through, remember Matthew Graham presented us with stuff? Didn't we talk about potential trails through the new proposed subdivision, and we got a map for us and stuff, and we had language? I can't remember.
You may have provided comment. It wouldn't have been with my time before I joined you, but I do believe something. Okay.
we're busy doing other things. Our work plan kind of got thrown out because we actually have work days and things like that, and
Yeah, okay.
I find these conversations around the table are a lot easier to look at people and see whether I'm just rambling down a lost trail or whether there's some resonance, but I think we could. Well, the other thing, kind of sideswipe this is the sorry, sideswipe is not necessarily the right word, but Ganaraska's position on our linkage to their trails, because that was seemed like a permanent thing to me when we were doing it, and then it just was kind of taken off the table after the storm went through. So anyway, I guess I have these concerns. I'm not really sure where to take them. But.
Yeah.
We're, as long as people have, so either day or seasonal membership pass, there, we can go right through the end and use their trails.
No, I mean, all their closed signs are still up. Yeah, no, but I didn't know if they're out of date, and I was honestly scared to ask. Yeah,
Well, you'd think I know that.
well, it was, I mean, the one, yeah, after just west of the bridge on the transit, yeah, the Peterborough Trail Builders Association is not doing maintenance work in there anymore, and their signs are still up, so I don't know if nobody's been down to that spot. It would be great, yeah, but all the way to Glamorgan, all the main entrances still have their laminated paper storm closure signs up.
I think that's maybe down, but I was getting believed that every. So I will.
Maybe
I don't think so. May depend who you.
So we can stay moved.
It's on YouTube.
The one concern I have about preservation of potential is that we conserve as much of the rail bed as we can. So from the gazebo on King Street along the South rail route to Falls Line, as much of that that the developer is willing to preserve as possible. It's just born and bred trail accessible trail access.
And that's on the property being developed now? That's part of that property?
It's still
It's,
the King Street. The even more interesting part is the rail corridor that curves up toward Lindsay from Falls Line. And it goes through private property and development property, and we need to identify all of the properties and try and preserve that rail corridor.
So I think through you, Chair, staff, I think we need to get a handle on where we're at and probably provide a report to the committee just with the information, because I certainly, I don't know. And I think it would help the committee identify their priorities if you kind of can see the full picture. So I think that's something we can take back as a follow-up and look to actually provide a report.
Yeah.
And then if there is any particular areas of interest, just email them off to us so we can make sure they're included. But I think we'll use your work plan where you have certain trails, and then just an update on the subdivisions going in, the Parks and Recreation master plan. We'll bring back our trails master plan, because maybe we need to start updating the trails master plan. I'm not sure, but it could certainly help. And we're a new committee, so we have lots of time together, lots of time to get a lot done.
The one thing I was talking about with John and I guess with Carly, that I'm never quite sure where, I mean, I know that our roots are as a recreational trails committee. But as we start connecting trails to subdivisions, or sorry, other parts of town, then our trails take on a much more significant role than recreation alone. Just think of like the value of Station Trail, and its proximity to the school and how it's used for kids coming down from the new subdivision, coming across, and then a couple of shortcuts into the school. And just the importance of that, especially as our town grows and it grows up the hill, then we, if we're not thinking about pathways for connection, then, we're really looking at, I'm thinking of my kids specifically. So, and if there is a new school that's built up here at some point, then, the prime corridor is County Road 10. And there's no other roads that connect the other parts of town. So I was wondering if we as a committee have a larger role to think about development as it comes and making sure that the trails, but also the community remains connected via those pathways, or if that's outside of our mandate, if we are a recreational trails committee, then that sort of, does that become urban planning or rural planning? And that's,
Well, I think too big for us, we have
Yeah.
an importance. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think we're not the Millbrook Valley Trails recreational trail committee, we're the Millbrook Valley Trail.
Yeah.
and so when do we have the opportunity to consult on, massive developments that are already underway? Did we miss the boat on that? How do we get ahead of the next one? And do people come to us? Do we go to them? What's the process?
The era in which I remember most being put into looking at what might be possible or agreeable to the developers was when Craig on Frychuck was here, because he had that cartography mindset and geography mindset. So he laid out for us what he thought was possible. And I hate to lose, those possibilities. That's one of the reasons why I want to take you up.
It's something that we could get correctly provided to the town as it is right now, so that they have an understanding of what the working document is we want to be basing it on.
Yeah, I don't be involved, but
Yeah, so I think it's two parts. The new subdivisions, those are, I would say, finalized. Those are in works in progress. I do believe those site plans, they came, but I don't know about before the committee, but certainly before council, there was those discussions. This is a working committee, but also an advisory committee. So whenever those opportunities present themselves that we, as the committee, have opportunity to comment, it will be brought to you. And those recommendations get brought forward to our council through our minutes, through our agendas. So I don't know anything in the hopper, what's upcoming, but we will certainly be bringing those to the committee.
And sorry, I guess from my experience with council, while I was on council, it probably would, from my standpoint, it wouldn't hurt for our committee to give council a heads up in a friendly sense that it's important to make trails a priority, because once the developer, like, in my opinion, municipalities are at a disadvantage in dealing with developers, because basically the property is owned, and generally speaking, the municipality is waiting for a plan of subdivision ever to come in. And if that plan of subdivision comes in and say a rail trail has been ignored, it's probably too late to try to do anything about it. To try to get council to identify that as a special development area, maybe that would be a thing. I believe that's an appropriate term. So whether we should be trying to put together a motion to have council consider, and it may be too late at this point, depending on what stage proposals are coming in, because I'm not quite sure how they are. So I don't know whether I should be asking staff if that's something we should do, or whether we should just stumble into it, but because already.
I was gonna say, I can certainly get from our planning department at what point the committee can make comments and then at what point it's too late and.
Is it possible that Cameron, September meeting shows what the plans are for the new.
For the trails?
Question with the process. Would it not be even more suitable for us to maybe have a delegation at the August 24th next council meeting, because they're not meeting for another 2 months. Just so that we can express our concern, and I'm sure you can answer, you can be able to have plenty of answers for us beforehand. And if they're like, already it's too late, then right, the council or delegation go right at that moment. But I think the sooner we can articulate that is looking for one, we're looking for this long term. Yeah. And we'll have that like actually council put this in as kind of mandate for development so that they can say, hey, for developments, this is going to be something that we want, like put into, you know, it's a codicil within building permits. It's like, okay, I know that they have it right now that certain percentage has to be made for green space for kids and parks within the development, but add to that the trails component to it, and phase 3, and you know, there's going to will be multiple more developments, I think, in the next 20 years that we've got that, you know, we know where the rail beds are already, so having like a conservation element to it at that time, so that we can kind of put it within the mandate of development that trails are always considered. So I'm sure.
So I want to stop the committee a little bit here, because something that the municipality and every municipality in Ontario right now is facing is the provincial planning. The provincial government has changed a lot of the Planning Act and a lot of our planning policies. So we can't even speak. What was in place a year ago has completely changed for our planning department. That it also includes the element of the parks and recreation, the donations, how much developers have to give. It has really changed that whole landscape. And so as much as these trails are extremely important, it is very sad that what used to be a requirement, or maybe we did have the opportunity to provide comment on, that isn't the case. So I think it would be very good for the committee to know where we can comment and where we can't, because we can always ask for as much as we'd like, but it does have limitations. And so I just wouldn't want, I wouldn't want to lead anyone down the wrong path, encouraging you that we can provide all of these comments when we don't have the opportunity, there isn't a mechanism that we can enforce it. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I appreciate that. There's a question. However, I think it's important for us, because of our mindset with a very active tier committee that is in effect adding to the value of the homes that are built in this area just by the nature of the work we do. I think it's important for us to be able to have a venue in which we can make our views known, even if we are disagreeing, because it needs to be on public that right to defend as much public green space and opportunity for active
Transportation.
active transportation as possible. As much retention of trees as possible, as much avoidance of flooding as possible. And we also want to recognize our history. I mean, the amount of physical labor that went into building those rail beds and what it meant in terms of how this area was developed will be completely wasted if we don't retain as much of it as possible and make really good use of them in terms of the people, kids in particular,
So you know. We have to avoid being an activist committee because we're a subcommittee of council, but we know some stuff. So it's important for us to be say to stuff, even if we aren't supported by provincial and municipal building code. That doesn't. Getting it on the record is important.
I'm just making my note.
Okay.
All right, we have some homework to do. We can I think definitely for the committee, staff will provide an update to you and give you a clearer picture of the role coming from corporate services and also the planning department. That way we all have a very clear understanding of our expectations and what we can and can't do. But I thank you for making those comments, and I think, you know, we are very appreciative of our volunteers, so thank you.
Okay, great. Any thoughts or questions? Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment? Dave, seconded by Don, all in favor? Okay. We adjourn, thank you very much, everybody, have a super summer. Keep in touch over these issues, certainly let you know what the township finds out in terms of the RFP and the boardwalk and